If you're thinking about building a pond or you've inherited a pond, you might be wondering, how do I filter it and keep it clean? So in this video, I'll go through the basics of filtering a pond. If you get your filters right, pond ownership is a breeze. If you don't already know me, my name is Kev. The aim of my channel is to help people build and maintain a pond without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, feel free to subscribe and check out my website, Ozponds.com. To filter water, there are basically three categories: biological filters, mechanical filters, and chemical filters. Don't worry, I'm going to keep it real simple. A biological filter is a filter whose job it is to grow good bacteria and microorganisms that will keep the water healthy. Basically, when waste breaks down in the pond, it produces ammonia, a type of nitrogen that can be harmful to aquatic life and also a food source for algae and plants. The job of a mechanical filter is to capture larger waste products. This could be fish poo or leaves and plant material before it breaks down inside the pond. By removing this material and preventing it from breaking down inside the pond, it helps supplement the biological filter. Then we have chemical filters, and these are really optional. This might be something like the addition of phosphate binders to soak up phosphate, or the addition of carbon or ozone to create super clear water. In my ponds, I only focus on the biological and mechanical filters. So filters come in all different shapes and sizes, and everyone has an opinion on what is best. I'm no different. But first, let's talk a bit more about the ways a biological and mechanical filter work. That way you can at least make an educated decision on what type of filters might be best for you and your pond. Like I mentioned, a biological filter's job is to grow bacteria and microorganisms that help purify the water through naturally occurring processes. The same processes have been filtering water on the planet for ages. So a biological filter can be as simple as a container filled with some sort of material whose sole purpose it is to provide surface area that bacteria can grow on. There's all different types of media that you can use. Some has more surface area than others and therefore can grow more bacteria. I'll put a link to some of them in the description. So we want to move water through this container or vessel that contains the bacteria by bringing the water into contact with the bacteria. The bacteria can then work their magic and purify the water. The more waste that's being generated inside the pond, the more bacteria you're going to need to process that waste. So some filters will move huge volumes of water through smaller amounts of bacteria growing media, while other filters will focus on growing more bacteria and having a smaller amount of water circulation. There are benefits to both methods, but I won't go into the details in this basic overview video. But I'll try and link a video that goes into more details down in the description. What's important for you to understand is that there's a direct correlation to the amount of waste produced inside the pond to the amount of bacteria and to a degree the amount of circulation that's required. The amount of circulation and bacteria growing media is much different for a pond with a few tadpoles and small fish compared to a pond with ducks and koi. And it's the same with the mechanical filtration. The more waste being produced, the more I'd be looking to extract some of that waste before it starts to break down inside the pond. There's plenty of innovative ways to filter water mechanically, but the most common method is simply running the water through sponges, brushes, or fine mesh to remove solid materials. Pretty much all the filtration units that you can buy will incorporate both biological and mechanical components. Generally, they'll tell you how much water they can filter. Just remember, the more livestock inside the pond, the more waste produced. If the filter is overwhelmed, your water most likely will go green and look a bit yuck. So if you want to just buy a filter, I'll put a link or two in the description. But you can also very easily make your own. My personal favourite is the use of a bog filter, in conjunction with some sort of surface skimmer. A bog filter is just a supersized biological filter with a little bit of mechanical filtration mixed in. The size of the bog will vary depending on the pond's use. Remember, there's more waste from koi than there is from small fish. I've created a calculator on my website that will help you determine the size of your bog filter if that's a path you want to explore, so I'll put a link to that in the description also. The bog filter is filled with rock and pebble that will provide your surface area for bacteria. There's also a void area at the base that can allow solid materials to settle. You'll also build it in a way that also allows you to easily clean and flush the bog to remove those accumulated solids. Again, I've made lots of videos on building bog filters and there's plenty of helpful resources on my website, Ozponds.com. To create a surface skimmer, I'll use one of three options: an intake bay, probably my favourite, a DIY skimmer, or a negative edge. These are all types of mechanical filters, again with some biological filtration mixed in. And I've also made lots of videos on each of these, so I won't rehash the mechanics in this video. But basically all these systems have the pump or pumps positioned in them. Before water can reach the pumps, it moves through a narrow or shallow zone that creates a current or pull on the water's surface. That means that any surface debris is pulled into this area, small particles will pass through the pumps and make their way to the bog filter, larger particles will become trapped and I can remove them, or if I neglect them, they will gradually break down into smaller particles that will pass to the bog filter. The reason I like to set up my ponds in this way is that I'm quite lazy and I'll often go months without conducting any pond maintenance. The intake bay negative edge or skimmer protects the pump from getting clogged, and the supersized biological filter can deal with any waste produced if I fail to remove things like leaves and fish poo. And the pond itself will also have a fair amount of sediment built up over time. I also like that I can incorporate these filters easily into the landscape so they look natural. I don't need to have a noisy filter house. I'm not constantly rinsing out sponges, brushes or filter mats. Once a year I'll flush the bog filter if it's lucky, and I'll net the pond whenever the mood takes me. Of course, because of my lack of maintenance, things aren't always going to look pristine, but my water's always clear and healthy and the ponds look natural. Over the years I've helped lots of other people achieve similar results, from duck ponds to wildlife ponds. Owning a pond doesn't need to be hard or expensive. And the way I do it is not the only way. There's so many variables and wonderful ways that water can be filtered. But if you'd like to build a pond or filter system like I use, head over to Ozponds.com. You'll be able to purchase my downloadable formulas that I use to build my ponds, or you can just use the hundreds of free articles and videos to create something unique for your needs. Anyway, I hope this video and the links to the resources I've listed in the description are helpful. As always, thanks for watching and feel free to tickle the thumbs up button. See ya.